30. Sorry. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we are reading from Canto 8, chapter 22, verse 27. Yeah. Manastamba nimitanam. Manastamba nimitanam. Janmadinam samantata. Janmadinam samantata. Sarvashriye pratipanam. Sarvashreya Shreya Pratipanam. Antamuyena Matparaha. Antamuyena Matparaha. Manastamba nimitanam. Jamadinam samantata. Sarvashreya pratipanam. Antamuyen namatparaha. Okay, word for word. Mana of false prestige. Stamba, because of this impudence. It also means arrogance. Nimitanam, which are the causes? Which are the causes? Janma adinam, such as birth in a high family. Samantataha, taken together. Sarvashreyaha, from the supreme benefit of life. Pratipanam, which are impediments. Hanta, also. Muyet, becomes bewildered. Na, not. Matparaha, my pure devotee. This screen looks like a... No. The screen looks like a 1950s old Hollywood movie, like blurry. I just had to clean the lens quickly. Here we go, it's better. Okay, word for translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Although aristocratic birth and other such opulences are impediments to advancement in devotional service because they are causes of false prestige and pride, these opulences never disturb a pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. Devotees like Dhruva Maharaj, who was given unlimited material opulence, have the special mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Once Kuvira wanted to give Dhruva Maharaj a benediction, but although Dhruva Maharaj could have asked him for any amount of material opulence, he instead begged Kuvira that he might continue his devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When a devotee is fixed in his devotional service, there is no need for the Lord to deprive him of his material opulences. The Supreme Personality of Godhead never takes away material opulences achieved because of devotional service, although he sometimes takes away opulences achieved by pious activities. He does this to make a devotee prideless or put him in a better situation or in a better position in devotional service. If a special devotee is meant for if a special devotee is meant for preaching but does not give up his family life or material opulences to take to the service of the Lord surely takes away his material opulences and establishes him in devotional service. Thus, the pure devotee becomes fully engaged in propagating Krishna consciousness. Om Ajnana-timirandasya gnanjana-shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganara Gunatam Vitam Tam Sachivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanditangscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namustate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Did I forget Vanchakalpa? Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha. Okay, so one more time the verse. Although aristocratic birth and other such opulences are impediments to advancement in devotional service because they are causes of false prestige and pride, these opulences never disturb a pure devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, one way in which we can test our progress in Krishna consciousness, according to this verse, is to see how little we become disturbed or distracted by any kind of opulence. So if the opulences just don't matter anymore and Krishna matters more, then we know, okay, this is a good sign. All right, so Prabhupada mentions Dhruva Maharaj, but are there any other devotees in the Bhagavatam or in the Bhagavad Gita or wherever that you can think of that also were either stripped of everything they had or given immense opulence? Anyone? Which devotees or which people in the Bhagavatam were where did Krishna take away something that was very important to them, or that he just took away whatever? For example, Indra, he was being for centuries and centuries and centuries he was being worshipped by the people of Vrindavan because of the rainfall. And then Krishna came and he said, nah, we should give our worship to Govardhan Hill. So Indra was that pride or that honor of being worshipped was taken away from Indra, because number one, you should serve Krishna and not a demigod, but also to teach Indra a lesson because he became very proud. And so often in the Bhagavatam we also learn that the demigods even, they would take it, their power was taken away, and then the demons came to power because they at one stage Indra had Indra disrespected his spiritual master, and then because of that his pious credits were reduced and they lost their power, and the demons won the war. Another person that we can see, another group of people that were stripped of everything they had, were the Pandavas. They didn't particularly do something wrong, but they were definitely put in that difficult situation in order to teach us how to deal with difficult situations. Because by the example of the Pandavas, we know how Krishna would like us to act when something similar happens to us. And as Queen Kunti said, the calamities are actually good, because if we don't have any of our strengths and opulences to count on, who do we turn to? We turn to Krishna. I mean, I knew someone that he was part of our Bhakti Yoga Society back in South Africa, and he was very sincere, but he also had extreme health problems at that time. And you could see that doing devotional service and coming to the programs and just chanting and whatever, that helped him to deal with his calamities. But then his health got better and he didn't come back. So calamities are there to teach us how to be dependent on Krishna. Another person that we can think of that was given a lot of opulence, even though he didn't want it, was Sudama Brahmana, the friend of Krishna. He was a Brahmana, they went to the same school, and they were very good friends, and he went to visit Krishna, and all he took him was, do you remember what he took for Krishna? Yes, flat. It's like flat rice, and so that's all he took. And then when he came home, he had palaces, he had servants, he had everything. But on the other hand, in that story we learn he was kind of attached to his poverty, because he felt that he was so he didn't cling to any opulences. And Krishna said, you can also be proud of your poverty. So I'd rather give you wealth, so to keep you humble. So that can also work. That can also happen. Is that sometimes in the material world, especially today, we see that sometimes it happens that we are not proud of our opulences, but we can sometimes become attached to our misfortunes. Like, see how much I suffer, or see how difficult it is for me. And that's also not good. We should, the moment that there is an attachment or a very strong aversion to something, good or bad, it means that there's an attachment that's not to do with Krishna. So the pure devotees, they just don't care either way. You can put them in hell, you can put them in heaven. the only thing that they want is to serve Krishna. That's their thing. Is whatever I'll be. Um, Even Uddhava said when he came to Vrindavan and he met the devotees or the gopis, he said, "I'd be a creeper in Vrindavan, where the devotees and the gopis and everybody can step on me. Just main thing, please let me just be in Vrindavan." So we as devotees, sometimes we see that devotees, they don't they 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 struggle a little bit with money. Um, and then there are some other devotees that have a lot of money. But it all depends on, obviously, what's best for our spiritual journey. If we look at the life of Srila Prabhupada, he was always serving Krishna. There wasn't a moment where he wasn't thinking of Krishna and how to serve him. And he was financially very well off at some stage. But at that stage where Krishna decided, okay, you're too much focused on making money, because Prabhupada thought in the beginning, okay, my Guru Maharaj gave me this instruction, and he he tried to do that instruction to the best of his ability, and his ability was, okay, he thought, let me make a lot of money and then I'll go to America, because you need something. And that's what he did. So his intentions were always good, but then Krishna said, "No, you don't need money." So the business failed, everything failed, and then he was open to it. There's a there's a famous author that wrote that became really famous. Um, the what's her name? J.K. Rowling, from the Harry Potter books. So she was the story goes that while she was writing the books, she had just left an abusive marriage. She had a very, very small baby. I don't think the baby was 2 months old. She left her husband. She left, and she came back to Britain. She had no money. She was living on benefits, and um, and she had made like her life was an utter failure. But but she had nothing. And she said that in a speech once, she said that in English we say you hit rock bottom. It's like the lowest you can go. The rock bottom is the absolute lowest thing that can happen to you. And she said that that failure was actually a good thing to her, because she could somehow focus on the one thing that she actually wanted to do, which was writing. So, and obviously it's not spiritual, but we can take that principle and apply it to our own lives. Is that if your life goes south, if your life, if you feel like an utter failure, materially speaking, maybe your health is bad, maybe your marriage is falling apart, maybe you lost a lot of money, maybe you have bad relationships with the people around you, there's something that weighs upon you, then it's like Krishna takes away things and he makes it difficult, but he also, the reason why he takes away things is so that he just takes away the unnecessary things, so that we can realize what's the most important thing. Because, like Prabhupada says, is that if you have an aristocratic birth, or you have a lot of money, or you're very beautiful, then you don't really feel the necessity to depend on Krishna, because you have everything. Like, we can very easily think that, oh, I have a lot of money, I'm beautiful, I whatever. I don't need Krishna. I don't need God. Also, if you come from if you have really good karma in terms of material things, then you don't know so much about how people can suffer and how difficult life can be. So if you have a lot of opulences, you can think, "Well, the modes of material nature, they're not that bad. Material life is not that bad. I have everything I need." But people who suffer in some way, either they don't have enough money, um, or they, what I said, they have a bad marriage or whatever, they they know how much the material life absolutely is a place of suffering, and they, the people who suffer more are the people most probably asking themselves, why? Why am I suffering? There must be more than this suffering. If you have if you have all these opulences, then those questions may not come up because you don't have to think about it. And that's why the mode of goodness, the material mode of goodness, is can also be an impediment to spiritual life. And that's, yeah. So in the end, we as devotees have, that's why pure devotees always just pray one thing. They just say, please, Krishna, engage me in your service. Engage me in your service no matter what. Because they know that everything else materially can be a distraction. So sometimes when life gets really bad, um, yeah, one of the prayers I pray is just, Krishna, help me to just always do my japa. Because if you work, uh, if you have to work somewhere out there, and you have a family and whatever, sometimes these things, you either do your japa very late or you skip rounds or whatever. That can happen, and I'm not saying, yeah, it's uh, it's totally normal for it to happen. But the point is, like Kadamakanana Swami said in his last address, is just keep to the path. So devotees, pure devotees, know how easily we can become distracted from our main goal, which is to serve Krishna. So that's why they ask him, just send me whatever you need to not make me forget. So that is the pure devotee's attitude, is to always pray for Krishna to engage them in this, in his service, because if you are engaged in Krishna's service more and more, then there's less and less place for everything else, and then you can't get into trouble. All right, so I said this is going to be a very short class. To summarize, in the material world, if you have material opulences that you worked for, it can make you proud, because it can feel like, oh, I really deserve this. I really worked for this. So there's always that fine feeling of very subtle pride. And Krishna says, but if we gain those things by doing devotional service, when our attitude is that I want to serve Krishna, and by the way we get either money or fame or whatever, then that's sort of purified, and Krishna doesn't take it away. So the mode of goodness can be a distraction, and we can see that pure devotees, all they want to do is to serve Krishna, no matter what. And that no matter what your life looks like, you can always serve Krishna in some way. Maybe when you're really sick, you cannot do a lot of physical service, but you can do a lot of mental service, because you can always do your rounds. You can always think of Krishna, you can read, whatever. So no matter where in life you are, there is always something that you can do for Krishna, and that should be our focus: is what can I do for Krishna? Yeah, and then we'll be safe. Okay. Any questions? Any thoughts? Any criticisms? Yeah, Vanessa. Krishna also uses our mistakes sometimes. I mean, it doesn't, I don't think it really matters whether it's Krishna taking away or if it's your own fault. Um, if you're going to lose something, you're going to lose something. Um, but yeah, so Krishna can use anything in our lives. Sometimes, yeah, I mean, I recently had to go through something very. I made some really bad. It wasn't that I intentionally made a mistake. Obviously, mistakes are mistakes because you didn't think clearly. But I did something that had really bad consequences, and even though I was feeling really sorry for doing it, I still have to carry the consequences. Shri Shri Radha Madhavan Ki Jai. Um, but it was a good experience because obviously I will never make that mistake again. And it is humbling to know that sometimes you make a mistake and you, even when you say sorry, there's still some there's still some consequences that you have to carry, and those consequences make you humble. So also see it, even though the mistake came from me, it was something that I did. Krishna used that to teach me a lesson. So whether Krishna directly decides, okay, I'm going to take that away, you'll see that there's always some reason it happened. Maybe you lose something because of someone else, or maybe maybe it's through your own mistake. But Krishna uses everything in our lives. So you can always, I try to always think, okay, what is it that I need to learn from this? And if it is something that you, as you said, because of some stupid mistake, then if we make a stupid mistake and we realize it, we immediately learn something from it. Like, okay, that was a stupid mistake. I'll never do that again. Or it makes you humble to know that, yeah, okay, I can make mistakes. I'm not perfect. So that humility is also a lesson that Krishna learned, that Krishna can teach us. So whether there's always going to be some material reason why bad things happen to you, and even if it is, even if you can't see the reason, then whatever happens, Krishna's in control. So he knows what needs to be done to get you closer to him. So yeah, don't worry so much about the stupid mistakes. It's unavoidable. People are imperfect, so we are going to make mistakes. The most important thing is just to try not to pretend that it wasn't, like to say, okay, I made a mistake. That's the first step. And then also you can pray to Krishna and say, okay, please show me what it is that I need to do to make it right, or what can I learn from it. Jain think that this is also from Krishna and they would be really Krishna consciousness because everything is destroyed in that country and they're coming here and starting a new life. And it was not their fault because I was coming and destroying their houses. But still they're coming here. I mean, it's not like they decided to make this way, but it could be also, I could also think that Krishna took the house and they have to go somewhere else to find shelter. Like about this, the refugee people, I think that they are really conscious now about all that, what happened to them, and they are still going on and going. They lost everything. Krishna put this material world together in such a way that uh, the law of karma takes care of most people. But yeah, so there are in the Bhagavad Gita, it's described that there are, you can receive suffering from three different sources. It can come from your own mind, from your own person. It can come from other people or other living entities. Like if it's summer, then the mosquitoes can also cause you suffering. So other living entities can cause you suffering, and um, natural disasters. So in this case, war is obviously very much suffering that you get through other people. And yes, those people are maybe materially not responsible for it. I mean, they are civilians. That's why in the Bhagavatam, the war of just not in the Bhagavatam, but the war of Kurukshetra between the Pandavas and the Kauravas was fought away, like somewhere in a field, not in cities. So because they knew that the civilians, the normal people, they have nothing to do with this. You cannot make them suffer. You shouldn't make them suffer because of the war. The warriors fight the war, and the other people, they don't get killed, or their houses don't get destroyed. So the this type of warfare is in any case also a very Kali Yuga thing, because they make the civilians suffer, the normal, just everyday people. Yes, okay, so sometimes you can't necessarily think that, okay, those people they're now very Krishna conscious because they think, okay, it was taken away and I have to return to God. No. Some people will ask those questions. It's written in, Krishna says to Arjuna that of 1,000 people, like you have maybe 1,000 people that maybe will ask the question, what's the purpose of life? And of all the thousands of people, out of thousands of people who ask that question, maybe one of them will think, mm, I have to take up a spiritual path. And maybe out of 1,000 people who actually take up a spiritual path, they would think, okay, maybe I should serve Krishna. So the mercy that we get, the fact that we think, okay, I have to serve Krishna, is it's also mercy that we get from many lifetimes of devotees who somehow gave us their mercy. So unfortunately, yeah, refugees suffer really a lot, but it's not necessarily that they would think, okay, now I have to serve Krishna, unfortunately. But it is definitely a good step in a way, because now they think, okay, I can't enjoy life, so what is it for? So maybe they start asking their questions. It depends on where the soul of that person is on their journey, how much work they've done spiritually before. Does anybody have anything else? What do you think, Valentina? Yes. So Krishna also says that once a person starts chanting Hare Krishna or turning towards him, Krishna then directly takes charge of that person's life. But for people who are not God conscious, karma takes care. And then it's just pure mathematics. If you have karma to be in a war zone, then you will be in a war zone and you will get the karma for that. So it is very difficult to understand, but we have to understand that the fact that we are here and that we are able and willing to listen to a Bhagavatam class, and in any case chant Hare Krishna, that has a lot to do with mercy that we get from people. And it's not just in this lifetime, it comes from many lifetimes. So Krishna arranges the material world so that people eventually come to the conclusion that I have to serve Krishna. So we don't know where that person is in their journey. So some refugees may come to the conclusion, yes, okay, everything was stripped away, so what do I have left? I should serve God. Some others may just think, oh, I hate God because he makes me suffer. Or some other may start thinking, okay, maybe this is not so good. Why then? Why am I suffering? So, depending on where you are in your spiritual journey, you will ask different questions and you will react differently to the material suffering that you have. And that's only Krishna knows that. We can't see it from the outside. Like if you look in a at people who fight a war, you don't know where they are in their spiritual life. So, what kind of questions they ask themselves and how they react, that's up to that's just where are they on their journey. Okay, any other questions? Anyone? Okay, yes. Anyway, that's the thing, like this hope to just go further. I mean, actually, she comes from Krishna, right? Like, you said this woman, she decided, okay, I'm writing now, but sometimes I think, where's the purpose in it when everything will be destroyed in the end anyway? Everything material will be destroyed, but everything spiritual you'll keep. Like your spiritual, that's why Krishna says here, your material wealth, things that you work for through pious credits that you do, whether because there are very rich atheists, some people who hate God, who doesn't believe in Him, they have a lot of money, but they worked for it. So that material wealth will absolutely be destroyed, and then they'll just have to start over in the next life. But yes, your material wealth will always be destroyed, but also from the Bible, there's a verse that says you should not collect treasures on earth. You should collect treasures in heaven, meaning that we as devotees know the treasures, the wealth, the opulences that we need to work on is the spiritual opulences, meaning how well do I do my japa? Do I read the Bhagavatam? Everything that you do with the consciousness of Krishna, just whatever it is, just I'm doing this for you. The credit that you get for that, that stays. That stays. But materially, yes, everything will be destroyed. Like everything material will be destroyed, but the reward that you get for spiritual things, that stays. and that you take, because that's how you can get a person that he's born and he immediately thinks, I want to serve God. Where does that come from? That comes from many other lifetimes, that he knows, okay, there's something spiritual out there. So spiritually, nothing gets destroyed. Krishna said that's very definite. Um, I mean, sometimes if you treat devotees badly, then it may be frozen for a while, but it doesn't get destroyed. You keep that. So that's the hope. Is that yes, obviously everything material will be destroyed, but if you do it for Krishna, then he's in charge of the results, and you get to keep that devotional service always. So that's very hopeful to me, in any case. And if you, like, for instance, the writer, yes, okay, so she wrote books and it's wonderful, and but in the end of a life, in 100 years or 200 years, that wouldn't mean so much. But if we write a book and we just, whatever it is, we do it with the consciousness of, I want to serve Krishna, he can use that book in many different ways that he wants, and that service on a spiritual level is never lost. So that's why you'll see that a lot of people that were in the Holocaust or during the Second World War, the people who could see the purpose of their suffering were the people who survived. But if you suffer and you think, what's the use? That's deadly. That's very bad. But if you suffer and you know, okay, number one, I have to learn something from this, and number two, Krishna's maybe taking something away that makes my spiritual life more difficult. So it's okay. It still doesn't feel really good. It's still suffering, but if you know that there's some kind of purpose to it, then then it's easier to deal with it. So yeah, suffering for suffering's sake, very bad, but suffering for Krishna, good. Okay, thank you very much. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Thank you very much for being here.